Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Sorry for the delay. Had a late night last night. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Happy, Saturday to you. I hope that you and your family are doing very well. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin, see kind of what's going on. Kind of going to be a very quick one here today, kind of just touching on the obvious weekend, behavior. Low volume, it's never all that interesting in most cases. So we'll go ahead and review kind of the recap the last 24 hours, see what happened there. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I love teaching people to trade. Really hope you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. CryptoCache.tech is a site if you'd like that for yourself. Link in the description below. I do have discounts for military and third world countries, but mostly what I offer is basically trading signals for every single trade that I take, as well as a trading academy to teach you how to be a better trader. Of course, also, more important, a good community of over 200 esteemed traders all working together to learn and grow, essentially, as traders, human beings. Honestly, there's a whole lot of things you could factor in there, but generally speaking, trading is a lot more than just what we see here. It's a lot of mental aptitude, clarity, etc., and those are things that I like to kind of teach. Regards to that fact, taking a look here at Bitcoin, here's kind of where we're at. Obviously, we've seen a red day in here today. Yesterday, we expected this, and it's continuing the way that we anticipated, albeit it had some significant drops, like maybe some sharper drops than we were expecting, but still, we broke this trend line here. So let's go ahead and touch on that here. So just really quick, you see these ascending trends here, effectively showing that the price action was continuing making higher highs and higher lows. It's probably a lot easier to see on the 4 hour. So if you see here, of course, you got the higher lows, continuing higher and higher highs. Well, it came outside that standard deviation here, kind of overextended itself, RSI up over 70, and the price inevitably came back down. So something to note here as well on the 4 hour, just kind of touch on it. We're under 50 on the RSI right now, so that really tells us a lot about the fact that we are in a bearish type of situation here. Again, tentatively bearish. It's not like it's going to just keep dropping, but there's potential there as well. And what we probably want to do is redraw these lines here so we can kind of get perspective on where we're at. So let's go ahead and get these gone because those no longer apply. And we can kind of tentatively start drawing out some lines here to effectively see that we are in a descending type of trend. So you could look at a lot of different circumstances here. Obviously, there's some patterns potentially forming as well. But generally speaking, when it comes to this type of trend, we can expect it to continue lower until it breaks free. And what it could do is it could consolidate its support right here at 22,200. That's essentially the key level Fibonacci retracement line here. That was a previous resistance as well, at least really close to. So this is an area in which we have a decent amount of volume. And in that sense, that could essentially hold the price action in place. It has proven to do this do so far so good, in that sense, whereas in the last 8 to 12 hours, we've seen the price action kind of just bottom out there. In other words, the 4 hour candlesticks are not willing to close below that. So that's a good sign in a sense, but in truth, we don't know how much lower it could go. It's best to expect it to continue lower than it would be to just buy the dip and try to see if it recovers. Best advice at this point is to dollar cost average. Honestly, that's the best thing you can do. Once again, I just put in an automatic deposit of $20 a day through my Binance. It just makes it fully automated and easy. I don't have to worry about it. Same time every day. I have an addition of Bitcoin to my account. I do the same thing for ETH as well, but again, different strokes for different folks. But I think Bitcoin is probably more of a priority in that sense, in the overall general sense of big picture return on investment and or longevity. So let's go ahead and touch on the normal stuff and work our way down and call it a day here. So straightforward, we are still testing tentatively, potentially not even breaking fully above the 50-day simple moving average. This is one thing I told you about before too, in that you want to wait for maybe a week's worth of confirmation. And we can see already within 4 days, it's already treading water barely and potentially going to submerge itself underneath that level. So again, this descending trend is still essentially holding in a sense, and we could effectively adjust the trend a little bit out, and essentially it would digest it perfectly. So in other words, we could just go like this, make it a little more even, and that's essentially where we're at. So we're still below that descending trend line if you think about it, because once again, the 50-day simple moving average is that average that we want to focus on. So to me, that is adverse, but here's some positive silver lining. Now that we're up over 50 on the RSI, we could effectively see that work as a support level. So again, the 22,200, that could essentially be what we're looking for here as a support. That could very well be it. But just say, for example, if you were to kind of compare 50 on the RSI with 50 on the price, it would probably be right here at about 21,600. That was a key level resistance when we had a double doji candle a few weeks ago, and now it could very well work as a support. If it does, that'd be fantastic. We could inevitably break back up above the 50-day simple moving average, maintain that 20-day simple moving average, as well as ride that support level out. So I would say a good target. If you were to consider a long position, again, we want to reevaluate and look at it again later. There's no guarantees, but hypothetically, buying closer to 21,600 would make more sense than buying in right now. Just again, generally speaking, based on the overall progression, there's no guarantees it's going to continue lower, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. But good news is 50 on the RSI is running fairly concurrent with that 21.6/22.2. So in that range there, we have some decent amount of support. Once again, previous resistance working as a support. All right, so that's generally what we're looking at there. And once again, I think we already touched on the 4 hour. There's not really much to note here. We have a significant divergence here, of course, as well. It's hard to say how much longer that could go, but it does look like it's kind of losing momentum. But once again, we're under 50 on the RSI here, so I think it's kind of naive to think that the price will just bounce and recover from here. Okay. So again, that's just something to kind of think about. And then moving on to the 1 hour, let's go ahead and see. We look for some confirmation here, and we can see we still have confirmation to leave our short position open, which we have one right now already. We had a 20x leverage that was opened up yesterday, hit 40% profit in 3 hours, and again, in 20 hours we're hit closer to 60. So again, pretty good little profits essentially taken, just based on the simple fact that we were overextended and a lot of things that I covered in yesterday's video. So again, maybe check that out if you're curious as to why I took that position. But generally speaking, this speaks for itself. We're making lower lows and lower highs, and it is definitely on a bit of a struggle bus right now. So again, it's nice to want to consider and think that Bitcoin's going to shoot up to 28,000, fill that gap. But I would say that we might be more likely to see some downside first before that happens. But what this is telling us right now here is lagging spans free and clear of price action. So even if the price comes up and rejects off the cloud, we'll inevitably have the price action be free and clear once it comes down lower in regard to the lagging span. So if you're not familiar with that, it's perfectly fine. It's really just kind of an indicator telling you that we've got three things here telling us that, first of all, the price being below the cloud, firm indication number one that you do not want to take a position, and hypothetically, a short position is more viable. We also have the conversion line below the baseline, which is also a short signal, and obviously here, lagging span hasn't touched the price action, telling us it has enough momentum to continue making lower lows and lower highs, and effectively helping us understand that we want to leave a short position open if you have one. Doesn't necessarily mean you want to open a short position, but I think it could very well be realistic in the sense that we should see some rejection off the trend lines, and of course that 50 on the RSI in the 4 hour to bring the price action down lower, and that would put us in a position where 21.6 would be the next key level support. So if you're going to remember anything, 21,600 is probably going to be a point of contention. That should be the most recent bottom, and there is potential for it to continue to increase from there based on previous patterns. Again, double doji closing a couple weeks ago at 21.6, 2 or 3 days in a row. That is effectively a pretty big sign of that being a strong previous resistance, but now a strong support. Again, it's a Fibonacci retracement level as well, so there's a handful of things that are kind of factoring in here to cause this to help us just really understand that that's probably going to be a nice little area there to see some support. So the price could come lower, but I don't think we're going to see anything lower than 21.6 at least in the next 24 hours. Based on weekend activity, of course, volume being tremendously lower. Not that low, all things considered. We got a decent amount of volume last night overall, but generally speaking, it's still one of those things, that you want to pay attention to. So that's kind of where we're at here. There's no definitive line in the sand, but it does seem more likely that we're going to see a retest at 21.6 at the very least before we might see a potential bounce to maintain ourselves over the 50-day simple moving average. But again, it's not looking amazing here. We haven't broken any significant trend, so try not to convince yourself that we're in a bullish market or we've broken the downtrend to the downside, obviously. So again, just some things to kind of think about. We don't have confirmation just yet, and that's again why I'm a firm believer in good confirmation and solid confirmation, because honestly, if you had just taken a long position based on the fact that price broke above the 50-day simple moving average, you're doing it wrong. You need to look at everything, and a lot of different factors are going to actually allow for you to make a better, more informed decision. In fact, I talked to one of my community members recently, and they said they had tunnel vision. They were looking at like the 4 hour time frame and only trying to make decisions based on that one time frame. which is, not to say it's a bad thing. It's okay to focus on certain time frames, but if you don't know what the macro and the micro looks like, the 4-hour doesn't matter at all, because they all kind of translate into another. The 1 hour turns into a 4-hour, and 6 4-hour candlesticks turns into a day. And essentially those are all things you need to kind of focus on. So always try to do yourself a favor. At the very least, look at the daily, the 4-hour, and the hourly. Those are my preferred. Obviously an occasional glance at the monthly or weekly, but generally speaking, you want to do your research, and outside of fundamental analysis and the technical analysis, doing your own research is essentially identifying key opportunities and just areas in each time frame. So again, just something to think about. Hopefully that makes sense. And I do want to thank you, of course, for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. That's about all I have here for the moment. Once again, pretty boring weekend stuff, but standard nonetheless to the downside. It's kind of what we've been expecting. I would say we have at least 24 hours of downside with likely potential bounce at 21.6 tomorrow/Monday once the Eastern markets open, and or the traditional markets as well. Be excited to see that. Nonetheless, thanks again for your time. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Have yourself a great rest of your day. If you're not currently a community member, CryptoCache.tech is the site. Link in the description below. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.